Technology Integration Lesson Plan presented to Dr. Muhammad Salim, presented by Dina Gmei. How Quran is related to science. This topic will be taught to 12 grade students who need to understand that science and Quran are in harmony. In order for them to believe in that, they will do their own project where they have to identify a scientific concept that is discussed in Quran, find the relationship between the Quranic verses and the scientific fact, and they will be demanded to create their own video to illustrate the topic. In order for me to double check that my lesson plan has all the 5 elements of successful class, I'll be elaborating that in the next slides. The first element is engage. As you can see in my technology lesson plan, you would see this element in 2 places. First of all, in the goals and objectives and in the unit starter, where the teacher will be starting her class stating the objective of this project, and then creating or showing her students the video that she created to them in order to understand what she's expecting from them.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful.
والسماء والطارق.
By the heaven and At-Tariq, the night comer, the bright star.
وما أدراك ما الطارق.
And what will make you know what At-Tariq is?
النجم الثاقب.
It is the star of piercing brightness. According to my humble understanding, At-Tariq means in Arabic language the knocking, and Najm Al-Thaqib the bright star. So this description is alike to what scientists discovered and called pulsar. Now let's see what scientists have to say about pulsars.
You got it. Stars are held in perfect balance between the pressure of gravity pulling them inward and the outward force of radiation. Once stars run out of fuel, they collapse in on themselves. It's the amount of mass that decides what happens next. The most massive stars detonate as supernovae and can explode or collapse into black holes. If they're less massive, like our sun, they blast away their outer layers and then slowly cool down as white dwarfs. But for stars in between 1.4 and 3.2 times the mass of the sun, they may still become supernovae, but they just don't have enough mass to become a black hole. These medium mass objects end their lives as neutron stars, and some of these can become pulsars. Gravity overwhelms the atomic bonds of matter in a neutron star, crushing protons and electrons together into neutrons. This is how they get their name. A star that used to be more than 1 million kilometers wide is now less than 20 kilometers across. This material is so dense that a single sugar cube's worth weighs more than 100 million tons on Earth. And you would need to be traveling 100,000 kilometers per second to escape a neutron star's pull, about 1/3 the speed of light. So that's how you get a neutron star. But what about these pulsars? When these stars collapse, they maintain their angular momentum, but with a much smaller size, their rotational speed increases dramatically, spinning many times a second. This relatively tiny, super dense object emits a powerful blast of radiation along its magnetic field lines. Although this beam of radiation doesn't necessarily line up with its axis of rotation, and so, from here on Earth, astronomers detect an intense beam of radio emissions several times a second as it rotates around like a lighthouse beam. This is a pulsar. The first one was detected in 1967 by Jocelyn Bell Burnell and Anthony Hewis. They detected a mysterious radio emission coming from a fixed point in the sky that peaked every 1.33 seconds. Although they were certain that it had a natural origin, they named it LGM1, which stands for Little Green Men. And subsequent discoveries have helped astronomers discover the true nature of these strange objects. Pulsars have been discovered emitting many different wavelengths of light, from radio to visible and even X and gamma rays. There have been a total of 1,600 found so far, and the fastest discovered emits 716 pulses a second. When a pulsar first forms, it has the most energy and fastest rotational speed. As it releases electromagnetic power through its beams, it gradually slows down. Within 10 to 100 million years, it slows to the point that its beams shut off and the pulsar becomes quiet. When they're active, they spin with such uncanny regularity that they're used as timers by astronomers. Pulsars help us search for gravitational waves, probe the interstellar medium, and even find extrasolar planets in orbit. It's even been proposed that spacecraft could use them as beacons to help navigate around the solar system. On NASA's Voyager spacecraft, there are maps that show the direction of the sun to 14 pulsars in our region. If aliens wanted to find our home planet, they couldn't ask for a more accurate map.
Now let's hear the sound of a pulsar as recorded by NASA. Second element is explore. Here, exploring, you would find it in the lesson plan in two parts, in the critical question addressed and in technology requirement. The students will explore two main things. First of all, the scientific fact that is mentioned in the Holy Quran, and second of all is the type of technology that they are need to use in order to create their own video. Third element is explain. Explaining in the part of the teacher will be, she has to explain the technology requirement, the student-focused activity, and also to play her own video as the starter. Now teacher has to explain the steps that students is recommended to follow, the different technology that are available, and tell them what is the differences and what is the advantage of each and what she recommends for them to use. Then she has to explain the project, how she gonna evaluate this project. The fourth element will be elaborate. Elaboration should be in two parts, in the student-focused activity and in the assessment. She has to elaborate in terms of how she created her own video, what are the things that the students has to avoid in order to have a smooth project, and what are the tips that she has for her students in order to help them do a more professional look for their project. Fifth element is evaluate. As you can see in the lesson plan, in this part is the student assessment part, where the teacher is expected to build a rubric for them and to share it with them in order for them to know their scores, how they're going to be scored, or how they're going to be evaluated, on what basis. That will help them to do a better job. Thank you for watching my PowerPoint, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.